Let's begin by telling you that the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has located the wreckage of a helicopter that crashed into the Atlantic Ocean last Thursday while transporting Nigerian National Petroleum Limited workers from Port Harcourt. Now, in a statement released Thursday, NSIB Director of Public Affairs and Family Assistance, Mrs. Bimbo Oladeji, confirmed that the Sikorsky SK76 helicopter with registration 5NBQG was found approximately 0.775 nautical miles from the FPSO Adoon at a depth of 42 meters. NSIB Director General Captain Alex Badeh commended the search and recovery team's efforts, noting that preparations are underway to retrieve the helicopter for further investigation. The helicopter crashed into the ocean on October 24, 2024, with 8 people on board. So far, 5 bodies have been recovered, while 3 individuals remain unaccounted for. The National Economic Council has recommended that President Bola Tinubu withdraw the tax reform bills currently before the National Assembly to allow for broader consultations. Now, Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde announced the Council's resolution on Thursday after the 144th NEC meeting held at the State House in Abuja. Speaking to journalists, Makinde explained that members agreed more time was needed to build consensus and deepen public understanding of the proposed reforms. The Council's recommendation follows the recent endorsement of the tax bills by President Tinubu and the Federal Executive Council. The federal government promoted the reforms as a means to improve efficiency and reduce redundancies within Nigeria's tax system.
Indices as it regards yields from major revenue sources, also our tax to GDP ratio, and so on. So after extensive deliberation, NEC noted the need for sufficient alignment between and amongst the stakeholders for the proposed reforms. So Council therefore recommend the need to withdraw the bill currently before the National Assembly on tax reforms, so that we can have wider consultations and also build consensus around these reforms.
To further discuss this, I'm joined by Chartered Accountant and Tax Practitioner Suraj Oyewale. Hello, Suraj. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Good afternoon, Dashen. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Suraj, what are your thoughts on the National Economic Council's recommendation to withdraw the tax reform bills?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me in here once again. And it's not exactly a surprise to me because anytime you want to have a reform of such magnitude, you're expected to meet some obstacles and interests that you have to work with. A case in point is the Nigerian is the petroleum industry bill that took almost 20 years to pass in Nigeria. A bill that was meant to reform Nigeria's energy sector, particularly the oil and gas industry. I mean, that bill took like 15 to 20 years before it was eventually passed in August 2021. So not exactly a surprise to me that the situation in which these tax reform bills are being suspended because the National Economic Council, made up principally of the state governors and chaired by the vice president, and also have committee members like Minister of Finance and all of that. So it's not exactly a surprise to me that given some of the uproar that came as a result of these bills, because tax is a quite sensitive subject, and nobody wants to pay any tax. And apart from the fact that nobody wants to pay any tax, the government are also very, very, anytime they have something that has to do with tax, the government also, you don't take it with levity. So I'm not exactly surprised that this is happening to an attempt to reform Nigeria's tax system.
All right, but how will the withdrawal, impact on Nigeria's tax system?
I think it's not. I mean, we call it a withdrawal, not yet some sort of abandonment or outright neglect. So we may not be able to say yet. Whether, I mean, nobody knows what and what is going to go from the current, from what you have in the bill at the moment, because some of us have seen part of the bill, and what we see there, what we see are actually things that are quite progressive in nature. But the way things work in Nigeria is that you don't, I mean, you have to balance political interests as well. You have to balance some social interests as well when you're making some decisions that are purely economic. So it's not entirely surprised that, we have all these interests being pushed back. And some of these things there are, are painful. I mean, reforms are generally painful. Not speaking from a place of privilege, because I speak from the place of someone that has paid this tax for more than, more than 10 years myself. For example, we have a provision in some of these bills that seek to increase the VAT rate from 7.5% to 10%, and subsequently to even higher rates by 2030. We have the provisions that seek to reduce the company income tax. So essentially, some of the provisions in the bill seek to reduce the rates of income taxes but the VAT collection generally is meant to increase. And of course, we have the parts that are political in nature, because at the moment we have the VAT that is being shared at 15%, VAT revenue collected by government is being shared 15% to federal, 50% to states, and 35% to state government. And within the state government pocket, the ones that go to them, they are shared based on equality and derivation. And some of the provisions of that law also of the laws that have been, some of the provisions of that bill rather also seeks to readjust how this revenue will be shared. So it's not good optics for us as a country that we are going back and forth on what should be left to experts to explore. But at the same time, you can't generally fault the fact that political interests, social interests are important in balancing some of these economic policies government want to make. So to that extent, I would say
Okay. While you're still, speaking about that, are there some people who seem to think that there's some stakeholders and also sectors that should be involved in this? How can the government build a consensus and be able to deepen public understanding to the proposed reforms, as recommended by the National Council? That's the
okay.
National
So we
Economic
believe
Council.
now that. So, in fairness to them, I think the committee that worked on this has been quite engaging. The chairman of that committee, Mr. Taiwo Idele, comes online from time to time to sensitize the people on these things, to explain some gray areas and all of these things. But I think beyond the people he engaged on social media, beyond the committee members, I think some critical stakeholders also need to be engaged. The state governors, for example. I'm not sure whether they were, carried along in all of these, and that this is some of the taxes and things that impact them. So, to build there's never been you can never build the 100% consensus in any policy, in any law, because some of these things that are seen as benefiting a larger part of the society, we don't benefit some certain section of the society. So you can never reach 100% consensus. But we believe that now that the bill has been withdrawn, critical stakeholders like the state governors, like maybe industry leaders in certain sectors that are adversely impacted, will be brought to the table, and we hopefully this works and we have a more refined bill to work with.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Suraj, for taking time to speak to us.
You're welcome, Dashen.
Moving away from that, let's also tell you that Nigeria's National Economic Council has called for the inclusion of the southeast and south-south regions in the construction of dams to help mitigate flooding risks. The council also endorsed the federal government directive for the Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation to carry out a comprehensive integrity assessment of Nigeria's waterways and dams. This decision, announced by Anambra State Governor Professor Charles Soludo, follows the Council's 144th meeting led by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the State House in Abuja. Governor Soludo noted that Water Resources Minister Professor Joseph Utsev briefed council members on the government's ongoing response to this year's severe floods. Earlier, the ministry had identified 148 local government areas across 31 states as flood risk zones for April through November 2024.
As the Federal Ministry of Water and Water Resources and Sanitation to conduct an integrity review of all the waterways and dams across the country. There was serious emphasis on the need for a massive program of dredging or desilting of the waterways and have a firm program of continuous desilting almost on an annual basis.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, had distributed 80 vehicles to youths within the capital as part of the Renewed Hope Youth Empowerment Program. The minister, during the event in Abuja, says that the vehicles have been given to the youths at no cost to them, urging them to utilize the vehicles for the purpose of which they were presented. Amadin Uyi reports.
Buses, all the SUV and Suzuki must be taken to Guzabi.
These youths are the lucky few who form part of the first phase of the Renewed Hope Youth Empowerment Program. Selected from the different area councils of Abuja, they will be receiving support from the FCT administration as it launches the empowerment program. The mandate secretary of the Youth Secretariat of the FCT highlighted the number of vehicles to be distributed at the program.
Today, we are here to witness a Renew Hope Youth Empowerment Program. The minister has approved the distribution of 80 last-mile vehicles to the FCT youth. And the distributions of these vehicles are as follows. We have 20 hires, we have 30 SUV, and we have 30 Suzuki.
He says that the program will impact tremendously on the federal capital.
After today, I want to tell you that social vices, crimes, unemployment, and self-independence has started in FCT. This is an intervention that has never happened in the history of FCT.
The minister of the FCT says that the program is proof of the president's commitments to transforming the lives of FCT residents.
Now, nobody thought about intervening as far as women are concerned. Nobody talked about intervening as far as the youth are concerned. We have had presidents, whether you like it or not. Aswaji Ahmed Bola Tinubu is not the first president that occupied FCT. But let us tell ourselves the simple truth. He's the first president who said you can't continue to talk about administration, women are not involved, youth are not.
He adds that the administration has profiled the beneficiaries, assuring residents that the FCT administration is putting efforts in place that will tackle the insecurity in the transportation sector within the capital.
Everybody here that's the beneficiary is being profiled by security. And so what we are coming up from January next year, there will be nobody that will operate as a taxi driver or a bus driver without having the approval from security, without security profiling you, and without going on with Abuja color.
The minister informed the beneficiaries that the vehicles have been presented to them free of any charge to operate at several high-brow areas of the capital in order to reduce the cost of transportation. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Justice Obiara Egwatu of the Federal High Court in Abuja on Friday was forced to excuse himself out of the court on citing sick-looking minors collapsing in court during the trial of the #EndBadGovernance protests. The protesters, numbering over 200, are mostly minors who complained of ill treatment and various ailments. The trial judge was forced to take a few minutes after witnessing the collapse of a minor who was rushed to the hospital. News Central's correspondent Emmanuel Bagudu joins us on the news to give us an update. Hello, Emmanuel. It's been over 2 months, since the End Bad Governance demonstration, and a lot of people would actually be asking the question, people watching right now will be asking, why should minors be held in custody, for this long? Please go ahead and give us an update.
Yes, that's the big question everyone is asking. The minors are numbering 76. They haven't spent 93 days in the police facility, that's the IRT office here in Asokoro. And then, of course, they are brought here before Justice Obiora. Of course, most of them are complaining of malnourishment, complaining of ill treatment, complaining of hunger, starvation. That was what resulted to that drama you saw when the young man just collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. And, of course, the judge was forced to, excuse himself because of the ugly scene. It's such a very pathetic situation, but of course everything is back to normal and the trial is ongoing right here at the Federal High Court.
Please explain. When you say everything is back to normal, Emmanuel, can you explain or expatiate on, what that means?
Yes, what I meant was that the trial is back. I mean, the arraignment is back. About 76 of them have been arraigned. Of course, on 10-count charges of bordering of treason, of course, causing civil disobedience, disturbances as well. They made mention of the commotion that happened in Kaduna, Kano, Gombe here in the FCT. Those are the reasons why they have been arraigned. And of course, these are just charges I've been read. The last time I checked, about 8-count charges were read, and all of them pleaded not guilty. So it's we're all waiting to see what's going to come out of it today.
All right. So is there hope for them to be released, as soon as, the trial ends? Hopefully it doesn't take too long.
Yes, there is hope, probably because their lawyers are actually asking for their bail, considering their condition. Of course, most of them are looking sick. You saw the visuals that we're showing. Most of them are showing, symptoms of different ailments, symptoms of malnutrition and all that. So the request has been placed before the judge, and hopefully they may get a bail. We're all waiting to see what's going to come out of it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel, for the update. Now, moving away from that, talks between the federal government and the Joint Action Committee of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, ended without resolution on Thursday. The meeting, held at the Federal Ministry of Education and led by former Minister of State for Education, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, was intended to address grievances related to the union's ongoing strike, which began Monday over 4 months of unpaid salaries. University operations nationwide have come to a halt due to the strike. SANU Vice President Abdul Sabur Salam told reporters that the government failed to provide a clear timeline for the salary payments. Dr. Sununu, representing the Education Minister, Dr. Tunji Alausa, assured that efforts are continuing to address the union's concerns. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has affirmed Chiedu Ebi as the authentic chairman of the board of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Justice Joyce Abdulmalik gave the judgment after hearing a suit filed by some aggrieved citizens from the Niger Delta extraction who had dragged President Bola Tinubu, the President of the Senate, the Attorney General of the Federation, the NDDC, and EBE as the first to fifth respondents for allegedly violating the NDDC Acts. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
The legal tussle started when the plaintiffs who hail from Bayelsa and Delta State claim that ABA is not qualified to occupy the position of the chairman of the board of the NDDC. The aggrieved citizens say ABA is not from an oil-producing area. However, after listening to the arguments from both the aggrieved and the respondent, Justice Abdul Malik dismissed the suit in its entirety, saying that the NDDC Act permits the appointment of a person as board chair from oil-producing state in which Mr. ABA is part of, irrespective of the quantum of oil production in his village.
The plaintiffs have no local standard, so the issues on the merit could not even avail them, because the court has ruled that they ought not to have come here in the first instance. So in its entirety, the matter is gone, and is gone forever. It ought not to have come in the first instance because there was no need to bring such an action. The chairman of the board was regularly appointed by the president, was regularly screened and confirmed by the Senate and the House of Representatives, and he has settled down for his duties.
We want to commend the good people of the Niger Delta region that victory is for us and victory is sure. And with all this distraction out, the board is definitely going to concentrate on their mandate.
The court also said that Section 24, subsection 2 of the NDDC Act states that no suit shall be instituted against any board member or senior management of the NDDC. And therefore the plaintiffs do not have the right to challenge the fifth defendant, which is President Tinubu, for appointing ABA. This did not, however, go down well with the plaintiffs, who vowed to appeal the judgment.
But right now, Mr. Chinedu ABA comes from a place that they don't even produce oil. One Nigerian oil company was there. They found no oil. Somewhere in Delta State, Delta North, Agbo side. They have negligible oil, no oil activities going on there. We're going to tender some of these things in the Court of Public Opinion before the courts as well in our appeal. But we are going to manage everything well to ensure, even if, so that future generations will know that this generation tried.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the governing board of the NDDC has described the judgment via a statement made available to News Central Television as well considered intelligently delivered and courageously sound. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Away from that, indications from the Senate suggest that the ad hoc committee set up by the upper chamber to investigate an alleged economic sabotage in the Nigerian oil and gas industry has not abandoned the probe, as recently reported in some media platforms. This is as the chairman of the committee and leader of the Senate, Michael Bamidele, presented a motion at plenary on Thursday to rescind the earlier decision on the matter. Bamidele, through his motion, explained that the House of Representatives has also set up a similar ad hoc committee to investigate the same issue. He noted that it now became imperative for both the red and the green chambers to work together in probing the issue of sabotage in the oil and gas industry.
The Senate equally observes that there is need for the ad hoc committees of the two chambers to work jointly to avoid duplication and clash in the discharge of their assignment. Accordingly, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate resolves to, 1, recapture the title of the ad hoc committee to National Assembly Joint Ad hoc Committee to investigate alleged economic sabotage in the Nigerian petroleum industry.
That the resolution of the Senate be communicated to the House of Representatives, following which the joint ad hoc committee will be inaugurated by the presiding officers of both chambers. Those in favor of this prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, the Senate leader, for having the foresight to configure the entire structure to deal with this matter so that we can have efficient investigation in respect to what is expected to be done.
The Comptroller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service, Kemi Nandap, has assured of improved service delivery to citizens of the country, especially at the nation's borders with the use of technology. The Comptroller General was speaking in Jos when she paid a courtesy visit on the Governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, as part of activities to mark the 2024 Comptroller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service Annual Conference. News Central's Chizoba Nyongwe, who was at the brief event at the Government House in Jos, reports that the objective of the conference is to develop sustainable strategies towards repositioning the NIS for enhanced national security and economic development.
We have the IVS, we have the API PNR, we have our e-gates, we have our PKD, PKI. All these are tools for border management, which has been deployed during this administration. So it's not just an administration where we're just talking, but we make sure that we want to do what we need to do to make Nigeria safe. For NIS as an institution, for NIS as an organization, for NIS as a border governance agency, we assure you that our borders will be safe, our borders are safe, and we're doing everything in our capability and our power to make sure that we ensure that safety.
There's no way of bypassing technology now. If you are living in the current world of today, you must work with technology. So it's a welcome development. We've never doubted your capacity, and we've always believed that you will bring value addition to the service. And so His Excellency, in this regard, says I should tell you that Plateau State stands with you. We are always proud of all the achievements you are making.
In the meantime, patients at the Plateau State Specialist Hospital in Jos, the state capital, have expressed dismay and worry at the increasing rate of economic hardship in Nigeria. They spoke to Chizoba Nyongwe, our correspondent, who was at the hospital to capture the mood of patients in the face of the ongoing 7-day warning strike by members of the Joint Health Sector Unions, JOHESU. Her report.
Since the 25th of October, members of the Joint Health Sector Unions commenced what they termed a 7-day warning strike to drive home their demands against government's inability to fulfill their promises to health workers. The industrial action is supposed to be a nationwide exercise, irrespective of the patients who are in dire need of the protesting health workers under oath to save lives under their care. At the Plateau State Specialist Hospital in Jos, there wasn't any sign of compliance by health workers regarding the industrial action. All efforts to reach the Plateau State Chairman of JOHESU, Serku Stephen, ended in futility, as he said on telephone that he wasn't disposed for an interview to confirm the position of his members regarding the strike. However, patients at the hospital were glad that they've been receiving treatment from necessary health workers, a claim that JOHESU isn't on strike in Plateau State.
My patient is waiting for her turn when she'll be called in. She's been issued card, so she's waiting for people who attend to her. I think that's what I see. They are working. I've not seen any sign that if there's any strike.
I think if they are on strike, we wouldn't be here gathered here to see the doctor. The doctors will not be on seat too if they are on strike. I've not heard of it.
They said that Jude Plateau and the rest of the hospital, they are on strike, but we thank God. Here it's not like that. They have been working very well.
The plight of citizens in this very harsh economy in Nigeria remains their worry.
People are actually dying because of this situation. It's so hard. Honestly, we have become beggars.
Because some people find it difficult to even come to the hospital based on the situation of the country now. They are down, but if they should come, the hospital cannot treat them for free.
We're in a difficult country, but as God in our side, everything is going well. So we give God the glory. no money, no food, this and that, but we thank God.
Now, with this situation at hand, with health workers in Nigeria and, of course, the citizenry, one would expect that the government of Nigeria will do everything possible to give a listening ear to their problems and, of course, make life more meaningful for everyone. From the Plateau State Specialist Hospital in Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyomi.
Now we move to energy, where in a bid to solve Nigeria's worrisome power challenges, the federal government has launched the third phase of the Nigeria Energy Support Program, also known as NESP3. Nigeria's Minister of Power, represented by the ministry's permanent secretary, says that the program is designed to advance sustainable energy solution in the country. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Are in a strategic meeting aimed at supporting the Nigerian power sector. The stakeholders present here also aim to launch the Nigeria Energy Support Program Phase 3 to end the epileptic power supply problem in the country. The Permanent Secretary of Nigeria's Ministry of Power explains the importance of this partnership.
Since its inception, NEPS has contributed significantly to expanding access to clean energy, improving energy efficiency, and building capacity within our energy sector.
Some of the partners reel out the success stories of the project and their willingness to continue with the partnership.
These already show the contributions, remarkable contributions of the program to the development of just energy transition in Nigeria.
This project also was the one that now opened up the investments that came from all other parties, international parties, likes of AFDB and the World Bank, to scale up some of the work we had then done with the groundwork. That's why we have today in Nigeria about close to 200 mini grids across the country, and the private sector is well engaged and the public sector as well.
The Federal Ministry of Power reaffirmed its commitment to advance energy access to all citizens and to ensure the nation's energy sector is reliable and resilient.
The Ministry of Power has actually initiated and piloted the Katsina Wind Farm program that was initiated and started in 2020. But as you know, that program has actually been undergoing a lot of crises and challenges, more especially about the security aspect of it. But to the glory of God, the ministry has actually initiated a program to see how it can be resuscitated, and we are also hybridizing it with solar so that at least we can have the 10 megawatts wind vane and then 10 megawatts solar. At least with that program, we know we can be able to generate sufficient electricity. The ministry is already in discussions with the Kano Disco so that they can be the uptakers of that program.
The ministry says that government is working to ensure that every Nigeria gets access to affordable electricity. In Abuja, for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Welcome back and thank you for staying. Now, Botswana President Mongwetsi Masisi announced Friday that he will step aside after preliminary results from the recent general elections indicated a major defeat for his party, the Botswana Democratic Party. Now, the BDP has held power in the diamond-rich nation since gaining independence from Britain in 1966. According to early tallies from Wednesday's vote, a coalition of 3 opposition parties secured at least 31 of the 61 seats in the national legislature, enough to claim victory under Botswana's electoral system. The first party to reach 31 seats is eligible to form the government and appoint the president. Now, as the Electoral Commission prepares to confirm the results later Friday, President Masisi, who has served since 2018, said he will begin all administrative work to facilitate the transition.
All of you, as I've already assured the President-elect, I assume, Advocate Duma Boko, that although I wished to continue serving you as your President for a second term and final term, I will respectfully step aside and participate in a smooth and I will participate in a smooth transition process ahead of inauguration. Starting tomorrow, or as in my discussion with the President-elect, at a time convenient to him, we will begin all administrative work to facilitate the transition. And I assure you that I will not take any actions to hinder or slow down this process. I will also hand over all outstanding government matters to the new president.
In the east of the continent, clashes erupted across several cities in Mozambique on Thursday as opposition supporters defied a renewed social media blackout to protest a disputed presidential election. Demonstrators rallied in towns and cities nationwide, denouncing the ruling Frelimo party, which secured victory in the October 9 vote, a result opposition groups and observers have labeled flawed. This marks the third wave of protests since the election. The government has vowed to address unrest decisively following last Friday's temporary internet blackout imposed shortly after the Electoral Commission announced results. The initial shutdown came as protests broke out and were met with forceful response from security forces. 36 members of the Opposition Forum for Democratic Change Party in Uganda have been released on bail following charges of terrorism. The International Crimes Division of the High Court granted their release on Thursday, setting a cash bail of 5 million Ugandan shillings, that's approximately $1,400 per person. Now, according to their lawyer, Arias Lukwago, the FDC members who have been detained since July were initially apprehended in the Kenyan city of Kisumu, where they had attended a training course before being deported back to Uganda. As part of their bail conditions, the court has ordered them to surrender their passports. Opposition groups in Uganda have faced strict control under the long-standing rule of President Yoweri Museveni, who has held or led the nation since 1986. Let's head to eastern DR Congo, where Rwanda-backed M23 rebels are advancing despite a ceasefire, with the Congolese army accusing Rwanda of exploiting the truce to capture territory. Since late 2021, the M23, a predominantly ethnic Tutsi militia, has taken over significant areas in DR Congo's conflict-ridden east, intensifying a humanitarian crisis as thousands have been displaced. While a ceasefire was reached between Rwanda and DR Congo in early August, recent fighting has seen the M23 push towards Pinga, a strategically important town in North Kivu province. In a statement Thursday, North Kivu's military command asserted that the Congolese army is faithfully observing the ceasefire while accusing Rwanda of using the agreement to seize control of certain localities. Although the truce has mostly been held between the official armies, armed groups affiliated with both sides have reportedly continued to breach it. In other news from around the world, Israel has carried out at least 10 airstrikes in Beirut's southern suburbs, targeting Hezbollah's strongholds. These strikes come as ceasefire talks continue, with U.S. officials meeting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss a potential deal. The airstrikes have caused widespread destruction, with dozens of buildings leveled and fires breaking out. The violence has escalated in recent weeks, with both sides suffering heavy losses. Netanyahu has emphasized the need for a deal that guarantees Israel's long-term security. The proposed plan involves Hezbollah retreating from the border, Israeli troops withdrawing, and the Lebanese army taking control. Talks are ongoing, but the situation remains volatile. Now, in the world of sports, the president of the Federation of International Football Association, FIFA, Gianni Infantino, has expressed confidence in the capability of Malem Shehu Dikko to achieve success in the assignment as the chairman of the National Sports Commission of Nigeria. In a congratulatory message signed by Infantino and sent to Dikko, The FIFA president stated that he is convinced that his knowledge, experience, and passion and personal qualities will have a significant impact in the discharge of his duties. Infantino noted that there is already a lot of satisfaction across the populace on Dicko's appointment and wished him best of luck and every success in the task. Dicko is the longest-serving member of the Confederation of Africa Football Organizing Committee on Interclubs Competition as well as the Club Licensing Committee since 2016 to date. Still talking sports, handball stakeholders in Kogi State have called for the dissolution of the board and the immediate sack of the current leadership in an effort to reposition the sport in the state. The group, comprising of 37 concerned citizens of the state, spoke to newsmen in Lokoja after meeting with the State Commissioner of Sports. They say game of handball, which used to be dominated by the state in the past, has regressed, calling for immediate efforts to restore the status of the game and also the appointment of an astute professional by the state government who will place the interest of the state above all.
We have never attended any national championship, neither do we host. Even when feeding was free in Sokoto for 4 years, feeding and accommodation was free. The state government of the former His Excellency Tambua will still give a subvention of 30,000 naira each to each player in the whole federation. Kogi did not participate because the leadership of handball in this.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our major stories. We told you that Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has located crashed Sikorsky SK76 in Atlantic Ocean. We also told you that Chad's military have been accused of killing scores of fishermen in deadly strike. Finally, you heard that Botswana's President Masisi has conceded defeat, pledges smooth transition amid election upset. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Dashen. Usman.